I understand you weren't familiar with that song when it was first brought to you.
Mm.
What made you want to sing it?
What made me sing it is that my mom was sick, and I was trying to learn it during that process of time. So the first verse was like really, it was difficult for me to learn. But then I listened to the lyrics, and I saw what my mom was going through. She was really in pain, and it's kind of stuck to me because you watch your mom suffering and see her leaving. So that last verse, it took some time to realize I can still hear her last goodbye.
Mm.
That's what made me learn that song.
And your mom, Inez Bradley, died in 2014.
Yes.
The listener wouldn't know her. Who was she? What was mom like?
Mom and at first, I left home when I was 14, and she took me to my grandmother. My grandmother was her mother that kind of raised me, but I didn't understand her. When I actually saw her when she came to Florida to get to know me, and I just didn't understand her. And she caught me, I'm being honest, she caught me in the AMP, still in a bag of candy, and I didn't know who she was. I dropped the candy down and ran back home.
Mm.
So I ran home, and I see the same lady was coming in the house. So I ran under the bed, and she said, "I'm gonna beat his tail from stealing that candy." And I started screaming. And my grandmother said, "The boy don't even know you. Don't do this to him."
Mm.
So we got them. Eventually, she said, "I want to take them back to New York with me before they can get to know me." But my grandmother says, "No, you're not taking them back." So she stole us. I was in
Really?
school. She came in school that day, and she didn't come to school. That was my oldest brother. Told us that the teacher that my grandmother was sick and we had to come home. And 12 o'clock, we was on the train, Amtrak coming to New York, and my grandmother and my mother started speaking for a while for that.
And when you got to New York, was the relationship good or was it still hard?
It was bittersweet. I didn't understand her because she had a real bark about her that really scares you. And when I turned 14, I just said, I didn't realize that she was doing the best she can to keep us. And she put all the boys in the basement. It was a 15-year-old book, and we stayed in the basement. And the girls stayed upstairs in a nice spot. So I just said one day, and she always took the food and lock it up and ration it to us. So I thought she was mean, but I understand now, looking back at the past, she was rationing the food to make sure we had enough to eat for the whole month, you know. So then I got angry and I said, if I'm not wanted, I'm gonna go on my own. So I went in the streets, and God knows things that I've been through, living in abandoned buildings, living in the subway
Mm.
train, going through changes, it's other things that I will not say on live. But if I know you personally, I can tell you a lot of things that I went through. But somehow I just kept going.
When you reconciled with her, because sometimes, right, when you start to have a lot of years behind you yourself, you start to realize that your parents are human and
Yes,
you're
and
making some of those mistakes.
I understand because when she caught the Greyhound bus and came to California, and I was living in California in a little hotel. You've been in a hotel paying $6 a night. You know what kind of hotel that was.
Yeah.
But I had fixed my room up kind of decent. And the landlord told me, "Your mother's downstairs." My mother's in New York. So she said, "I want to talk to my son." And that's when we started binding, you know. She started talking to me and telling me, she said, "Son, let me tell you about my life, things that I've
Mm.
been through." And I sit there and talk to him. We talk and we talk. I said, "Mom, from this day on, let's learn to forget about the past, and I want to learn to know you." So I came back. Eventually, I came back home, and I didn't want to come back home. I came back home. Then I stayed with her, and she started telling me a lot of things. And she said, "Son, please stay with me." So I
Mm.
stayed with her the last 12 years of life. She told me a lot of things about it. I wish my brothers and sisters would have listened to her because they were still holding the past on against her. But I had to open my mind to hear what she said and analyze with my experience that I've been there. So, wow, Mom, you've been through that shit, son. Nobody understand what I was going through.
Mm.
Raising 8 kids by myself. Your father and everything, they all left me by myself, and I had to do what I had to do. and I had to ration when I know. So with that memories and what she shared with me with her own life, I said, Mom, from this day on, let bygones be bygones. So like she gave me so much, in her last 12 years of life. I wish my brothers and sisters could have heard and pushed that animosity, that hate, and hear what she was really trying to say.
The video for Changes is incredible because it's just your beautiful face expressing so much pain and so much emotion. And I understand that the night that your mother died, you were actually scheduled to perform.
Oh, that was the most painful moment of my life. I didn't know how to indulge in myself. And believe me, I ran outside with my underwear on. I ran down the basement. I went crazy. My niece called me. She said, Uncle Charles, come upstairs. Nana's not acting right. And I went upstairs. Her eyes was just shaking. And I knew she was leaving. That was painful. And so Tom Brenner came and told me, he said, Charles, we can cancel the show. You don't have to do the show tonight. But I know if I wouldn't have did that show, I would have probably harmed myself because I was going in too much pain and I didn't know how to deal with it. And I was wishing that before she died, she had my sister to call me into her room. That was 2 weeks before she died. She said, son, I can tell everybody now, you my heart. So it's like, wow.
Getting on the stage that night, was it partly a gift to her, a parting gift to her?
It was, wow. I can't even express the words to you how I felt. It seemed like she was right by me in spirit. And the whole place gave me about 2 minutes silence. It was nothing was said. I went in my dressing room. There was flowers in there. And my God, I couldn't hold it back. And it just came out and said, God, thank you for the last 12 years of my mom's life. I got to know her. And I wish that my brothers and them would have got to know her. Like my oldest sister, they still hold faults against her. I say, y'all just don't know.
Yeah, they got to put that burden down.
Yes, that's what I try to tell them, but
You're so generous emotionally. Even performing here, I could feel it. Anybody who's ever, and because that song Changes has had such a long life, lots of people have turned to that song during times of pain. But to perform the night that your mom passes away, I can see right now the impact that had on you. How do you get through it? How do you manage to still be able to sing without losing it?
sometime I have to, if you watch me go on stage and when you see me turn my head and just stand still, I have to go into my spirit to get my composing and try to find something deep inside me that I can overpower that hurt and get over it. And once I find something inside me, strength, then I can let it out.
When you let it out, do you think that you free up your audience emotionally?
Oh my God, I mean, really, one of my horn players named Fred came and told me that somebody in his family, through my music, they named the kid, the newborn baby, Charles Bradley. I said, oh my God. It's that people's, and I'm very shocked, and I always thought I was performing for middle class, for middle age and stuff like older people. But I'm seeing these young kids coming toward me now. And so this made me realize, Charles, now it's not all about you. It's your giving, your love. And if I can touch some young kid out there to show them the right way and be honest, to keep going and listen to your true inner spirit. And, we all know how to go out and say things and make ourselves look good on stage. But if you can say it from the heart and mean it and to help another human being, That's what I feel about now. It's not about me no more.
And recently you told a story about a European fan that approached you and said that their mother had just died.
Oh, that thing hurted me so bad. How did this came to me? And my tour manager, they had to help me out of that. She said, Charles, I want to thank you. Somebody gave her a ticket to come to see the show. And I looked at her, but she kept trying to get to me, but she was like in the middle of the audience. But somehow she got to me. She said, Charles, I want to thank you. She said, if I didn't hear you, I would not know what to do with myself. I said, what's wrong, sweetheart? She said, my mom committed suicide. I said, oh, Jesus. I said, God, what I'm going to say to this lady? I said, God, I don't know what to say to her. I said, give me words to say, but I still was stunned. I said, well, she's in a place where God will have her. But I didn't know what to say to her. I just hugged her and let her cry, and I cried with her. But it's just sometimes I meet peoples out there, oh, God, I just don't know how. I try to find the best words, the deepest, the thing I can say to encourage them to be strong. That's why I say in my music a lot of time, I say, God made so many flowers. There's so many beautiful flowers out there. And I say, he made the white rose because it's a pureness. He made the yellow rose because that shows you that in China we are all still peoples. And he made the red rose to show you that there's all red in all our bloods in our vein. And he made the black rose to know that some parts go through so many deeper changes. I said, we can take all these roses and make a bouquet of flowers. It won't be no more wars and animosity. We have learned to love one another as human beings that what we're supposed to be loved. And I said, take this message all over the land. Show everybody that we all have pain and sorrow in us. But it's how you use that pain and sorrow. Do you change it to use animosity? Do you change it to be love? And that's where I look at it.
It's a beautiful thought. All those roses representing the colors of humanity.
Yes.
And that's always a complicated thing. The whole notion of race. Your star has risen so quickly. There are people out there, even friends and family, I understand, that haven't been supportive of that rise.
My brothers and sisters there, I don't know why. I don't know why it is. I try to tell them the truth of my heart because I'm the youngest boy. And they always try to tell me animosity things about race. I say, y'all need to come out of that. Yes, we are. I've been to pain, but the greatest gift is to take your pain and turn it to love.
Do you think part of that could be crabs in a bucket?
That's what I really think. I'm really interested in that. Because my mom told me, she said one thing she said to me. She said, son, a mother have feelings too, regardless of how many kids she have. It's always the one that just shows the mother the love that she needed. And she said, son, you gave me that love. That's why you've been my special.
You said if we weren't on radio, there's things we could talk about. And Charles, I think if you and I were sharing a pint somewhere, we'd be having a very different conversation. But we have to get back to the music. You begin this record with God Bless America. Why did you want to do that?
I did God Bless America because, it's the land where I was born. And it's the only land that I knew at that time. But as I traveled and seen other places in the world and traveled and met other peoples, I know regardless all over the world, we're just peoples. But the land where I was born, even though I've been to a lot of turmoil, a lot of hatred and animosity, that's the land I was born, so I have to love it.
What do you think about what's happening there now? There seems to be so much hate.
It's crazy now. I'm telling you, God knows. I'm looking at the world now, and I never seen presidential way carry on the way this guy. We're supposed to stop and show love and being the leaders of the world and supposed to teach truth and honesty and justice for all. We don't supposed to be out there fighting against trying to turn the racial against one another. I do this for you. We are all peoples. My God, it's time for America to come back to the golden rule, the love of truth standing what it was stand to meant for. love and justice for all mankind all over the world. I don't like the feeling building a Berlin Wall in America, around America. Why? When I went to Berlin and saw where they have this wall across the city, I said, "Oh my God!" And what president want to build a wall around America? We're all peoples. God knows.
Has your country ever felt cold to you?
Oh yes, so much. But I still love it. Because you know why I still love it? Because my mom and my grandmother taught me it was no one as lonely as the lonely Jesus. And he took all strikes against him and
Can
for what he believed in and kept loving.
can you share a time when you felt that coldness?
Oh God, when I was upstate New York, and that's why I love that song. What is that? It's a song that I can't think of it now, but it's one time my boss told me that if you don't come to work, don't bother coming anymore. I had a 64 Falcon, and I was trying to start it, it wouldn't start, so I got up and started hitchhiking, and it was in a snowstorm. So I kept going, and this guy picked me up, and the state trooper saw him pick me up, so followed him. So he stopped the guy, asked this guy to see his license and registration. So one came home, asked him to see my identification, and I showed him my identification. He said, "Where you going?" I said, "I'm going to work." He said, "Do you know this guy?" I said, "He giving me help." He said, "What is his name?" I said, "Why don't you ask him that?" And he slung me at the car and said, "Nigga, I take you to wood and bust your brains open and tell him I found you here. You don't act that way when I ask you a question. You ask me a question." And I said, "God, this man have took my identity from me, everything, and I didn't know how to express it." You go to somebody and try to tell somebody, they don't want to listen. It was no one I had but my faith in God. So that's why I kept my strength. Everything that I've been through, when it hurts, I go to God in prayer. Because when you go to somebody, it's a thing that happened to me in California. I can tell you so many things. But somehow, my faith in God kept me going.
You say that you still love your country, and for people in your community who are involved in the Black Lives Matter movement, for people in my community that are involved in the Idle No More movement for Indigenous people, what is it that you love about your country, and what advice can you give to folks about how they can still find that love despite these things happening?
One thing I will say to everybody on the universe, if you are love and you are a type person, believe in love. Through all your crisis and what the world do to you, make a stand to show your love will never die. And I believe in God in heaven will hear your cry. And it took a long time before I found people that believed in me. But I still hold my love. I didn't turn to be animosity, hatred. And that's what a lot of my peoples is doing. They hurting and they turning to hate. But they don't know that the greatest gift was one inside of them. Turn that hate into love and show the world that your stand will stand to the testing of time of love. And I believe the time when the good Lord says, "Well done," nobody in the world can tell you that the way you feel it in your heart.
When you get up on stage and put that vibe out, can you feel it coming back to you?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do.
Is
Yes,
that
I
what
do.
keeps you going?
It keeps me going because I look in people's faces and I see myself sometimes in the hurts in their faces. And it's not all about black or white. I see it in a lot of whites, a lot of Spanish, a lot of Italian, a lot of how you go, Chinese. Hurt is hurt, regardless what race it is. But we got to make a stand in ourselves. What person you want to be? Animosity, hatred to everything. Or you want to make a stand in you to find out who you are and find the love that you can give into the world.
Well, your music is good medicine, and it's a whole lot of that love.